What is up, guys? Zan from Playbook.gg here with AntCap for another edition of our Madden 20 wish list series. Today, we're going to be talking about one that's certainly near and dear to my heart, and that's going to be why playbooks have to be updated every single year to make Madden fun every single year. Before we dive into this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the great tutorials that we've got headed your way here on the Playbook.gg YouTube channel. Okay guys, welcome back. Now, what you guys are watching on screen, this is going to be the Madden Bowl Championship between Drini and Spoto. So we're just going to let that run in the background. Of course, as always, I am here with AntCap, and this is a really big topic here, AntCap.
It absolutely is. I think this is one that you and I are probably more passionate about because of just the way that, a video game's supposed to be fun. And I think if each year, one of the biggest things I'm always looking forward to is what have they done as far as changes in playbooks, whether it's route combinations that are stock, whether it's shuffling up playbooks, whether it's just something to be able to craft the game in a different way to give us a different experience.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way back to I would say back when it was at E3, not when it was called EA Play. Back in E3, during the summer, you would always get your teaser section of the year. I mean, we're in it right now with EA doing the dev streams and putting out stuff on Twitter about X Factors and different downloadable content you'll get when you pre-order. But back in the day, the videos that came out of E3 that got the most hits were always the playbook videos, where one of my good friends in this community over the years, Coach K, he would just sit there with his camcorder and record every single playbook. And those videos got hundreds of thousands of views. And that's from a channel that was a very small channel at the time. So that shows you what the impact is for playbooks just in general at face value.
Absolutely. I was probably 100 of those videos, to be honest with you. I used to be a big CFM guy, came in a sim community when I grew up into Madden. And one of the biggest things was, what were you going to get for a playbook? As an Atlanta Falcons fan, we were basically had to use that playbook. So, in that type of community, what you wanted to do is what was going to be new for you. So you always looked for those. And now that we've evolved into, a big type of competitive community, we want to be able to, give a little bit more of a diversity out there, something that's going to change the way we play each game and give it a different feel.
So in kicking off why playbooks need to be diversified, I think the first one is the most obvious reason. We've gotten into kind of a pattern over the last few years where playbooks change based off of, head coaches getting new jobs. One that's very obvious to talk about for me as a diehard Chicago Bears fan would be when Coach Matt Nagy became the head coach of the Bears. The issue is, yes, we're excited that they get a new playbook. The problem is it's just a direct port of Andy Reid's playbook because it's all about coaching trees. ADA as opposed to giving something to a playbook that is diverse.
Absolutely. And the more that we see coaching trees, and it's just natural that as coaches have success, their assistants start to get the recognition they deserve. And basically now you've got these clusters throughout the NFL, whether it's, basically somebody that you saw that Cincinnati and the Titans had very similar playbooks this year. You saw that, different ways where because of where they came from, you're getting, instead of 32 unique playbooks, you're really getting maybe 12 to 15 where some of them are getting repeated with a little bit of a twist. And that's something that's kind of watered down our playbook ability. And that's definitely something we want to see going forward to change.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about coaching trees, we could talk about different clusters of playbooks that are very similar. The Andy Reid tree, we've already talked about that. You've got guys like Matt Nagy that are falling off those, those leaves are falling off the tree and they're getting head coaching jobs. But the difference between the Kansas City book and the Chicago book is literally only, 2 or 3 formations where, Kansas City has bunch quads and a few other things, but like the Bears just get a very watered down version of Kansas City where there's no real eye-popping formations that stand out. So that's the Andy Reid version. Then we go ahead and we look at, say, the Philadelphia coaching tree. You're starting to get guys that are coming off of the Eagles coaching staff in lieu of their Super Bowl run a couple years ago, where, you know, say Frank Reich goes to Indy. Essentially,
Hmm.
the Colts playbook becomes the Eagles playbook. And this is happening where you've got, you know, it feels like two, three, four, somewhere in there, clusters of playbooks that are all pretty much the same with one or two formations of difference.
That's true. And that's something that, hopefully we'll see change. I'm a big Falcons fan. We're getting back Dirk Cutter, which is a Tampa Bay coach from last year. He's coming back as our offensive coordinator. I would assume that we're going to get flares of the Tampa, but I don't want to have a direct import. I want to be able to say, they have to have some type of, to keep it genuine, some type of understanding is this is what I had in the past for this. But, from what we understand is that they're going to have the ability to update, and they definitely tested this out in Madden 19. I'd love for the updates to be able to keep this game fresh all year long if they don't get it right from the start.
That's actually a really good point. Something that honestly I wasn't prepared for you to say here in this wish list video, but that is very true. Putting in new playbooks or changing playbooks on the fly. They tried that out. I believe they did it in the pass balance this year. They added some under center split backs that no other playbooks has, like under center split close. And we saw that they had the capability to do that, but they didn't elaborate on that ability the rest of the year. I'm hoping that this year that would be really cool because you see situations in real life where entire offensive systems change based off of a quarterback. I mean, look at the Ravens.
Yep. Ravens is a great example. You looked at, say, the Eagles and the Carson Wentz to the Foles transition. We went from Carson Wentz being able to run a different offense to where they kind of minimized Foles' ability to run his RPO and give him something that was a little bit more his comfort zone, and it changed the offense in what was. So, being able to do that dynamic change is really going to hopefully put some, fun back into the year as we look forward to these updates.
That RPO comment is a great segue here as we discuss the playbooks and why they need to be switched and improved upon, and every team needs to get the TLC they deserve to kind of evolve offenses, because we basically found out that RPOs are coming to Madden 20. And now, some fans would say that's a year too late because the Eagles won their Super Bowl and EA didn't capitalize off the RPOs. But in my opinion, I'd say, obviously, I want a game that is balanced. So, if the RPOs weren't balanced, I'm glad they're bringing them in at a point where, they feel confident with it. But RPOs, that's important. You see a team start to do something revolutionary or different. You need that ability to, within the cycle, or heck, even, same season,
Yeah,
get those books in.
absolutely. The tagline everyone likes to throw, and it's if it's in the game, it's in the game, right? And RPOs are definitely in the game. It's something that I know there is, from a technical standpoint, there are different type of handoffs and different things that they have to do, mocaps, and I'm a big believer if you're going to add something when you're ready to add it, to where it's not going to be something that affects gameplay in a negative standpoint, where don't rush something, right? So hopefully with this new announcement of RPOs being there, it's going to open up our playbooks. That is a huge, part of our wish list. It goes back to our last video, if you guys haven't watched it already, about screens being viable. If screens aren't viable in the way the real player motion gets them upfield, the blocking, then it's going to be very hard for us to believe RPOs are going to be viable. So we need to get those to be something that, in order to get that balance we both, speak about and desire, we need those both to coexist.
Now, the next part of this conversation is kind of going to be, it's really two talking points in one. But I think that with the playbooks being updated, each team receiving some tender love and care every year, getting something at least. At the same time, I do feel like it's worth talking about. Some of the best Maddens ever were before we started to do the what are the teams running in real life thing, where it's like, okay, if the certain teams only run these route combinations, so we're going to load their playbooks with these route combinations. You go back some years, You go back to some of the more popular Maddens. For those that are big time Madden heads, go ahead and post in the comments which you guys remember, like your favorite plays of all time. I think of things like deep attack, cross punch, the under center single back doubles, speed option that was in the Falcons playbook that a lot of players used to run with, the Dallas Cowboys. I think that, on top of adding realism to the playbooks, that every playbook needs to have something dynamic and different that you can be like, oh, that's the book that has this, or that's the book that has that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's probably, if I had my number one thing about playbooks, is each playbook have its own identity. And the reason why I'm picking this playbook is because this is what I want to run, which is different than this book, with this book and all other 32, right? There's going to be concepts that are going to be duplicated throughout each playbook that are the core of what, all NFL teams run. But whether it's a special formation, whether it's special routes, let's not duplicate things throughout so that way we see more diversity. We talked about this off stream here, and when we get down to watching the pros, watching MCS events, our own Friday Night Football events, we see the same reoccurring playbooks over and over and over again. And it's because they have something special in them that other ones don't have. We need to make all 32 viable. So now we start seeing, maybe 18 to 20 of them that people really gravitate to get rotated, not just the main 4 or 5.
100% agree with you. I think that's always the big one for me, right? Is every single year, the community kind of considers me to be off meta offensively. I'm always someone that wants to do something different. I probably hurt my success rate over the years just being different because I want to be different. I don't want people to go into a game and be like, oh, I'm facing Zan. He's running Patriots bunch. I just got to be prepared for Pat's sale and, like the basic meta. Like I always have a need to be different. But it's been very, very hard for me over the last 5 years to be different without actually having to overcomplicate the game, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like it's like one of those things where I'm hurting myself being different. Like I enjoy having my thing that I run, but I'm trying to almost square peg round hole it.
Absolutely. And that's what it basically comes down to. There are special plays, special routes that are just plain out overpowered, that goes ahead and makes the defense have to work that much harder to stop. And that's where the meta comes from, right? People find those type plays. We definitely help and create, some really powerful plays that get adopted. As people gravitate to something, there's reasons for that. Being able to provide players, what we do with Playbook GG a lot is alternative, really powerful things that are against the meta, because we want you to have fun and something that's unique to you. And a lot of times what that is basically saying, we're not going to use the Pat sale. We're going to give you 3 or 4 formations that are in the same playbook that are really fun to use to help your game, build around something that's meta, right? And as we go ahead and see that these playbooks are being used, and a couple of names, the Tampa Bay bunch is really popular out there right now. New England's, the West Coast, New Orleans, your trips tight ends ones that if you're not running New England, you're running the Chargers or the Broncos. And the reasons for that is because those playbooks have those special routes that say, because it's in there, I can build my offense around it because it makes the defense worry about that route combination or that route specifically. We need to have identity to every other playbook in the same regard in order to make sure that we literally just don't play the same game every single time we load up on a match that we're trying to do. That really makes Madden not last as long as we want it to in the fun factor.
I think that's the most important thing is adding that replayability, that customer retention, that player retention is so important. And playbooks are, I've said it for years. I mean, I've gone down to community events, and obviously I have to buy my NDAs and all that, so I can't get too deep. But I know that personally for me, like that is feedback that I have given every single time I've stepped in those rooms, and I've said, hey, this is low hanging fruit. You guys have playbooks, make changes to them.
Yeah.
A lot of players out there say that Madden's, and for the record, I don't agree with this. A lot of players out there always say Madden's just a roster update. It's the same game. If you want to make it not feel like that, playbooks are such a low-hanging fruit thing that you can change every single year to keep the game feeling different.
That's absolutely true. And we were looking at the history of the last 2 years. Madden 18 was actually a pretty good year when it came to playbook updates. It felt different. There was different routes that were added, a little bit different concepts that were added. And then we kind of got a little bit, I don't want to say, we felt that Madden 19 was going to just be a nice segue to that. We're building momentum. Madden 19 unfortunately didn't have that. They kind of did a lot of their resources of doing 18. So I'm really feeling like 20 needs to deliver. We can't have 2 years of the same types of plays in there. Yes, they worked a little bit different in 19 than they did in 18, but for the most part, you're still running the same stuff, which really makes it tough on wanting to, go the whole year long. But when I used to play CFMs, one of the reasons why CFMs can go from August basically to August is because of the rules that they put in to get diversified. That if I play the Chargers, I'm playing a different playbook. If I'm playing the Ravens, I'm playing a different playbook. That is because it's custom rules. We'd love to be able to play 20 different playbooks on a particular weekend league because that's just the way that the game is made. And that's obviously a broken record we're hearing, but this is definitely what we want to hammer down.
Yeah, I think that today's topic that we're discussing builds on pretty much every single topic. We're not just talking offensive playbooks. We're also talking defensive playbooks. Yes, 3-4, 4-3 sub packages. Defense is pretty much what it is, right? I mean, it's defense, 11 on 11 football. But a lot of the reason some of the route combinations you said have slightly changed, even though the playbooks haven't, has been because they added quarters and palms. Look at what that did for the game. The short time that quarters and palms was not really super buggy. Yeah. It really changed how the game was played there for like a 2-week span. And it's so sad to say that. It was like only 2 weeks.
It's very tough because we saw a glimpse of how good match coverage can be when all the rules are working the correct way. You understand it. It was kind of a cerebral approach of knowing that if I'm in a certain type of formation that I'm going against, these guys are going to play a certain way. I can cover the field differently. What ended up hurting us there is that as we got our title updates, things started to work differently, and it got to the point where keeping up with how this plays lately was just too hard for people to want to stay in it, because if you don't know what you're doing in that defense, sometimes you could pay for it. But it was definitely a glimpse of hope of where maybe Madden 20 can go, because if they get that right, those are going to be some really fun things that, will give us the tools to cover some of these things that we weren't able to in the past.
It also builds on what we were talking about in a previous video, which is the whole block targeting, physics, things like that. It almost goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. If you don't improve a lot of the physics, the targeting, the interactions between offense and defense, it doesn't serve EA to update iForm Pro and iForm Twig tight end with new plays and route combinations, because like I said, you have to have the gameplay working right. Playbooks are almost secondary. Like, I would take a fully fleshed out, authentic football experience that plays X's and O's wise and respects physics. I would take that personally over all new playbooks and then the same gameplay and the same gameplay legacy problems. Like, don't get me wrong, get the legacy stuff right first. But you get the legacy things right, it's also going to open up viability in certain offenses. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that just making better, different plays for iForm Pro is all of a sudden going to have people playing out of iForm Pro. I think that kind of is something that needed to be said too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, there is a ranking order as far as what we want to get accomplished first and then whatnot. We have to assume that we made strides in the gameplay, right? Because, that's something that from year to year, if we're not, then, that's a tough pill to swallow. If we have made those strides, what can make the game more fun? Because Yes, the gameplay will make the game more fun because you're going to have less frustration. You're going to understand the game more. It's going to play, more of a back and forth type chess match. But then the second level, that is the playbooks, right? And you mentioned the defensive side of the ball. We had a nice addition last year in Big Nickel Overg. It'd be great for us to find something else that they added in, maybe to every playbook, to give us a little bit more variety on defense, to give different looks. Also, we've talked about this in the past, but maybe different zone responsibilities to cover a little bit deeper in that corner spot that we haven't seen. That's a big wish list for me, where I can definitely say, somebody's killing me on a 15-yard corner or a crossing route. If I use this guy, or I can command him to go deeper, then, that would alleviate some of my headaches, to where maybe there isn't as much meta because, we've got the tools to cover all areas of the field. Those are things that I'd like to see in playbook updates as well.
I totally agree with that. I mean, that goes right in line with what I was just saying about, like, yes, you want to make sure that you try to stick to like what the coaches run, but every playbook kind of have that thing that makes it, unique. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes the reality of what football is can kind of dumb down, or I don't want to say bore you, but I'll say it. Sometimes it'll bore you. Because yes, we say it all the time. NFL is a copycat game, so all the playbooks feel very similar because teams really do run kind of like the same things, just different formations. However, you add some of that, cross punch. If the vets out there know what I'm talking about when I say cross punch, or you add that, that deep attack, that trips tight deep attack. That's not even a play that's in this game. You add those types of plays to each playbook, and everyone's like, okay, well, this is my OP play. I'm not saying OP, but like this is my play. I can just be
build around.
Yeah, I can identify with this. Like people will say, okay, that's Zan. Perfect example. 2 years ago, they added deuce Y flex, single back, deuce Y flex. I was the only one in this community out here hammering that formation. I made it look crispy as hell, and then it was removed from the game the following year. That was all my fun. That was all my fun. That was a brand new play, brand new formation. I hopped into it. This is my formation. I love what this does. I could do a lot of unique stuff. People aren't going to be prepared, and they weren't. And I was crispy out of it. And then, it's gone the next year. That fun factor, even if it's not realistic, doesn't mean it's not fun. You could still have it in there and still kind of intermingle with some of the stuff that is more realistic, but might be considered more boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that at the end of the day, we're still playing a video game. I know we all want realism. We want as much as we can that mirrors the NFL and what they do. But there needs to be some creative liberties taken to also make sure that the fun factor stays, because we jump on this game as either an escape or competitive, whatever your desire to play the game. The last thing you want to do is shut it off being frustrated that you had the same experience every time. And Playbooks is a great way of, giving us that opportunity to feel that every single time we do it for as long as we can. And, EA should definitely put some resources into making sure that when they can and when it's in the, each build, to do everything they can to make Playbooks something that we look forward to.
Could not have said it better myself. On that note, I will go ahead and round out this week's Madden 20 wish list. As always, guys, let us know what you think, not only on this topic, but on topics that you would like to discuss in our comments. We're going to be doing these basically until Madden 20 comes out. This is something that, again, we say it every week, is designed to be, we're not here to berate EA or the developers or, say anything like that. This is all about keeping it constructive. Constructive criticism is going to be the way that we try to push this game forward together. So you guys always let us know in the comments what you would like to see. We'll definitely be doing more of these videos in the near future. So we hope that we'll see you guys next week with our Madden wish list. But also make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We do daily uploads every single day here on the Playbook GG YouTube channel. I brag on this all the time now. We do more content out there on our website than any of our competitors for a lower price than any of our competitors. I promise you, you will not find a better use of $9.95 per month for everything on the website. That's just not one project, not one product. You're going to pay 25 to 30 bucks for one product anywhere else. You get everything on our site for a third of that cost. So make sure you guys are checking out playbook.gg. And as always, subscribe to this channel. We do free content. We do more free content than the paid sites make you paid for. So again, guys, make sure you guys are supporting the channel. We'll continue to do uploads every single day, and we'll continue to do these every single week. So until then, this is Zan for AntCap. Get in the lab and good luck. If you like this video, check out one of the videos on your screen right now. And for more in-depth analysis, visit www.playbook.gg for detailed game plans written by pro Madden players. Master the game with Playbook.gg.